Welcome back to Grow Joyfully. I didn't think I was going to make a video today because I just needed a break. I've been making jelly and getting cabbage chopped up and put into jars so I can ferment it and make sauerkraut, cleaning the kitchen, you name it. But I've listened to 2 YouTube videos today by some of my favorite channels that have emboldened me to go ahead and maybe discuss something that is on my mind. I try to make my videos, user-friendly, family-friendly, cooking, baking, the little farm animals, the garden, what have you. So, political discussion is not really something I've focused on. It's not really my thing. I find it really upsetting, and there's a lot to it. But I do have some favorite channels that I think really talk a lot of sense because they've done their homework. And I think that I would just like to discuss something along these lines with you today. I don't want to use my channel as a political platform because it's not. I started it. I wanted to start it years ago, but I was too afraid that people would be cruel, and some people are, but most people are nice and supportive, and I'm very thankful to all my supporters, my subscribers, the nice friends that I've made. But you do have to protect yourself. The point is that we're living in an increasingly changing world. And I'm going to say right off the top that yes, things have always been difficult at different times. If you think about the, World War II, we'll start there. Well, I guess we can go back even farther. We'll do World War I, the Great Depression, World War II, the Korean conflict, my dad used to call it because he served in it, although it's the Korean War, I believe. Vietnam. I was young. I think I was about 12 when it finally got over. And my brother was very, very close, my oldest brother, to having his number called. And I remember sitting around the hi-fi. I'll have to see if I can find a picture and overlay it. And I'm sure you know what it is, most of you. But it's a fancy box that has radio capabilities, record player capabilities together. And so we'd sit around that at night and listen to the numbers that were being called. I don't know whether that was kind of locally, state level, or if it was federal, because I was so young. But they stopped calling the numbers just before my brother's number came up. I remember watching movies about it. The Green Berets with John Wayne. What are the ones? Even Yours, Mine, and Ours with Lucille Ball and Henry Fonda. Their oldest son goes off because he wants to join the military. And like I said, my father and his brother both served in the Korean conflict. My dad served on an oil tanker in the Navy. And just a fun story, the reason he and his brother went to the Navy was because my grandpa said he always wanted them to have a place to sleep. Not like the Army infantry, out in the middle of nowhere with nowhere to sleep, nothing secure to sleep in. So I thought that was kind of interesting and a fun family piece of history. So, back to the story. I listened to Appalachia's Homestead with Patera and Pinball Preparedness and Gypsy from Life on the Fringe today. I've done a lot of mowing. We have 2 acres, and it just seems like when you want to do the front and the back and the sides, not even counting the pasture, it's like 2 hours. on a riding lawnmower, so I have a lot of time to listen, and it's probably not good for my hearing to crank up those earbuds and listen to these people, but I do. I have time to think about it and ruminate on it. And one point that Gypsy made was that she doesn't want to pick any side. She's a particular, she leans a particular way politically. And what she was standing up for were the citizens of not only this country, but every country in the world. And I fully agree about that. The innocent citizens are always the casualties for the ruling class, if you will, and the quote-unquote leaders. And that to me is a tragedy. With these people that have such lofty, impossible goals and ideas, they need to go to war and put their money where their mouth is. That's the first thing. Oh, it's so easy to call up some innocent family's youth and send them to die in a war. That's not okay. Little babies, children, elderly, these people, innocent people getting bombed, killed, maimed, that's not okay. But because of the particular political climate right now, you've got to admit that while it might not be completely unique of what's going on, I was 3 years old when JFK was killed, and yes, that's very young. I don't know if it's because I've seen news clips and different things since then that's reminded me. That's probably what's happened, but I remember at the time the overwhelming sadness. I can remember my mom and dad being very sad and everybody being quite disturbed. Didn't matter what side you were on. This was just not okay. To kill the leader of a country, I don't know what his background truly was. Does anybody but him? And that goes for the people today, the leaders today. Do we know what any of their backgrounds are, except for them and God? No, we don't. They could tell us all kinds of things. The point is, you do want to do your research. You do want to think. You want to talk to people and discuss, but it's a very touchy thing, and you have to be careful or you could get yourself into trouble. Everybody has these very strong opinions and they're not going to budge. And a lot of people have been getting violent about it. We don't want that in our lives at all. But the thing is, when do we speak out as citizens? It seems, sadly, that it's either all or nothing. Yes, we can write to our senators and representatives and congressmen and blah, blah. How much do you actually think happens from that? Maybe I'm pessimistic, but I don't think much. They seem to be bound by people who have contributed to their campaigns, to be quite blunt. And I know they have laws and different things they have to work within, and they're no good to anyone if they don't win their campaign and win their spots. So I can see how they can't just go out there and work for the people. But I wonder, why can't we be more effective as citizens? Because we will look like treasonists, troublemakers, conspiracy theorists, to stand up for something that we all know is wrong, that we all know is going wrong, being portrayed wrong. We're just being lied to. So I don't want to get too deep into this just because I'm extremely uncomfortable with it, but man, I've heard so much today because of an event that happened 2 weeks ago, that some people were even evil enough to say, dang, they missed. I really wished it would have happened. I don't care who you are. I don't wish you dead. I don't wish you ill. I wish you to have common sense and to be kind to other people. When you start wishing people dead, I think that's your red flag for you to point the finger at yourself and say, wow, I'm out of control. I'm focused on the wrong thing. I think the devil's got a hold of me. Because when you want something bad for someone, especially their death, that's not right. So I just wanted to make a short video on a subject that is a hot button topic, like politics. Haven't you ever had older people back in the day always say, you never talk about religion and politics? Maybe we should talk about it some. It seems like the lines are being drawn clearer and clearer, at least religion-wise. You either believe as a Christian or you don't. So that's a hot button thing. But I think we need to examine our hearts, where they are, what we're thinking, what we're doing. Imagine the good we'd all do if we stopped being petty, self-centered, and warmongering, and just start paying attention on improving our own selves, our families, our communities, anything within our sphere of influence, instead of making it negative. Going forward, it's anybody's guess. And I think it fills anybody that's paying attention at all, and should be paying attention to what's going on right now. I can tell you one thing. I don't care who they are. I don't like liars. And the more they lie, and the less you can trust them when they're in a position of power, or have been put in a position of power by default. That is extremely alarming, especially when people think that they're do-gooders and they're going to help people and they actually care about them. And I think you know what I mean. I don't know if I know any politician that cares about the common folk, about real people. They have their own agenda. I'm sure they care for their families and the people they know, but, you know, all of us strangers, people they don't know, I don't think they really care. At least some of the leaders try to act like they do, but then you always need to question, research, read, and think, do they really care? But when those leaders come out that are just blatantly lying and don't care, that to me is alarming. This thing that's coming up in November could go any number of ways. Unfortunately, it seems like because of the evil that's in place and the powers that be, that bad things are just rolling forward, and it's almost out of our hands completely. There's only one person or being who can change these course of events. And like Gypsy commented on Life on the Fringe, when you try to change history, you're not changing history. It already happened. You're just trying to cover things up, and to me that makes you look bad. Makes you look desperate. It makes you look evil. It makes you look like a liar. Because for better or for worse, things did happen. History happened. And you can't change that. Okay, this is pretty deep for me, and it's getting pretty hot. It's going to get to 90 today, which is nothing compared to the 108 and 106 that it's been. This morning it was, let's see, even by 12:30 it was 74. What a wonderful gift. I'm trying to water, keep things alive because our pump has been out for our subdivision for 3 days. And when the temperature's like this, you can lose a lot of plants in 3 days. And trying to water everything is just not an option. So I'm at least trying to keep the garden alive. The grass is on its own, but the pump is back on and we're running our zones, hoping to pep everything back up and bring it back into shape. But that's another point, you know, if you know what really does hit the fan and there's any interruption in just water supply, things are going to be very ugly on our properties. We're going to be struggling to water our gardens enough just to produce food. Will it be enough to keep us going? Who knows? It takes a lot of land and a lot of garden to keep a family going for 1 year. Hopefully a community would form and people would barter and change and trade and help and swap. But I guess we'll see how things unfold. Meanwhile, I'm going to get back to my garden. I'm going to get back to my kitchen, and I'm going to be taking care of things, and I'm going to be prepping, focusing on my food storage and self-sustainability, and hopefully trying to be a positive cog in the wheel. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found it helpful. And please don't be ugly, because everyone's entitled to their own opinion, especially on their own channel. So behave yourself. If you have something constructive or good to say, I would enjoy reading it. Have a lovely day, and don't forget to do it joyfully. We'll see you next time.